You know what? I was so proud of myself because for the last 5 videos, I haven't taken a photograph of myself instead of hitting the video button, and I just took a picture of myself. So we are moving into the editing phase for some teams. Even if you're not, this is useful for you because you need to be thinking about this. We have this common vocabulary and common understanding of our goals now. So when we first set up each of the groups, I divided everybody who made it through the selection process into a room where there was a mix of writers who had been writing for several years to people who were pretty new but had real promise. So every room had that mix. Every room had a post-apoc writer, and that changed as time went on, right? Because life became too much. People realized what a big undertaking this was, and so things thinned out and didn't quite level out the way that I had planned them. But we are all working on a common plan towards a common goal using a common voice. So we know that we are writing using the hero's journey. We know that we're writing 6 books, and we know that we're all writing in close third. What you will have seen over the last couple of months is that the chapters that you are each turning in have a different balance in the craft presentation of how we get to a balanced chapter. So the elements that you're using, the building blocks of writing a novel, are exposition, action, dialogue, and interiority. The balance of those things, we want interiority to be mostly in indirect thought, not direct thought. That's really minimal in close third. We are very action oriented because it's an action genre, but we still need place, we still need people. There are still places where exposition is necessary. And the way in which different people have approached their chapters is now getting to a place where we really need to think about how do we blend these things? How do we smooth so that our readers don't feel like they get whiplash from chapter to chapter as they change POVs? So at one point, a couple of weeks ago, I had said, don't comment on anybody else's work because, it takes a lot for people to get where they are and to do this work, and it means extending yourself, and people do feel vulnerable. Almost everyone has been terrific at getting feedback. There are, of the 25 of you, there are very, very few prickly pears. Almost everyone is taking that away and dealing with it on their own, behaving like a pro. There are a few people who still struggle with getting feedback, but hopefully they're working on it. So we're going to have to do this thing where we do look at these chapters as a whole, not in their parts. So to start with, when you're going back through your own chapters, especially the early ones where you're fixing things like replacing dialogue tags with either action or interiority, I want you to look at what your strengths are. Do you tend towards dialogue? Do you tend towards exposition? Do you know your own style? And there's a good chance that you will have had to jiggle your style around to write in close third, because not many people came into the room already knowing how to do this. So that's good because it means you've learned something and it's still fresh enough that you can change things around. Once you have a better sense of what your own style is, I need you to look at other chapters and see what your co-writers' styles are like. Do you have people in the room who write more dialogue? Do you have people in the room who have more exposition, more interiority? And what we need to do is a kind of leveling, more of this and less of that, so that it gets closer together. It doesn't need to be exact. I was talking to one group this week where we've got two writers who tend to have a lot more exposition, and two writers who are much more dialogue heavy. And so we need to dial down the dialogue in one side and dial it up in the other, and dial down the exposition a little and dial it up a little over here to get these closer together. You might need my help. You might need my help phrasing this to other people. I do not want this to turn into a judgment zone of one thing is better than the other. This is about style. This is about choices writers make as writers, and we are not going to privilege one kind of writing over another kind of writing. We are writing action-oriented post-apoc, and that's what we want. We want that to succeed. So have a look at your own writing, how much exposition is on there on the page. We want to make sure within that exposition there's more showing than telling, but sometimes you need to just tell us something, but you don't need to show and tell us. So when you're editing, always pull out the tell when you can, but still get the facts on the page. Don't be afraid to tell us something when you need to. Action. Make sure that the action is only the interesting stuff. We don't need people reaching for door handles. We don't need people turning cars off and stepping out. We don't need everything. We need the sketch of it to get us there so that we are in the interesting bits. Similarly with dialogue, we only want the essential bits. Cut all the boring stuff out, and the interiority. So what counts as interiority isn't just direct thought. It's what I was saying earlier about what the windows look like, which is part of exposition, but is in fact from the inside of your POV character's head. So work out how you write and what the balance of your writing is. If you're still writing chapters where you've got setup and then dialogue, and they are separate things, they're still separate things for a lot of you, when you're doing your rewrite, work on merging those things so that we've got a much more balanced chapter page by page. I'm going to be coming into each of the rooms and helping you work out how to do this, to work out what kind of writer you are, and how to do this tone smoothing together. Good job, Doom Scribblers.